The mysterious disappearance of a talented young swimmer shook a quiet coastal town to its core, leaving a grieving father to dive into the depths of despair day after day, only to surface with a discovery that would rewrite not just his family's fate, but reveal the hidden darkness lurking beneath society's polished surface. For years of relentless searching ended not in tragedy's finality, but in a waterproof camera strapped to a forgotten buoy, its silent footage unlocking a nightmare of abduction, captivity, and the unbreakable bond of paternal love that refused to surrender. This is the story of Jack Callahan and his daughter Mia, a tale that reminds us how one small, overlooked detail, like a forgotten GoPro, can pierce through years of silence and ignite hope amid unimaginable horror. Yet beyond the suspense lies a deeper lesson. Resilience isn't born in calm waters, but forged in the stormiest seas of adversity, teaching us that true strength emerges when we refuse to let go. Much like mastering English requires persistent practice even when progress feels invisible. In the tranquil yet unforgiving waters of Crescent Bay, where the ocean surface sparkled under the early morning sun like a deceptive mirror hiding treacherous currents below, Jack Callahan descended once more into the silent abyss that had claimed his only daughter Mia 4 years earlier. As a seasoned diver and owner of a local diving company, Jack knew every reef, every hidden sandbar, and every unpredictable tide around Pelican's Reach, but knowledge offered no comfort against the gnawing void left by Mia's vanishing. She had been a rising star in open water swimming, her powerful strokes cutting through the waves with the grace of a dolphin, training rigorously for the Olympics in a sport that demanded not just physical prowess, but unyielding mental fortitude. The idiom, flying under the radar, perfectly described Mia's status then. She wasn't yet a household name, having placed mid-tier in qualifying events, yet those who watched her swim recognized the spark of greatness, her dedication unmatched as she followed the same 4-mile route from the Crescent Bay Pier to the Blue Water Buoy and back. Jack had accompanied her for years in his boat, the Sea Warden, watching protectively as any father would, his heart swelling with pride at her independence. But 6 months before her disappearance, Mia insisted on swimming alone, asserting her need for self-reliance with the firm words, "Dad, I need to do this by myself." He respected her autonomy while worrying silently, a philosophical tension between protection and freedom that mirrors life's universal wisdom. True growth often requires stepping into uncertainty, much like language learners must venture beyond textbooks to converse fluently, embracing mistakes as stepping stones rather than setbacks. On that fateful day, Mia didn't return. Search parties scoured the coastline, but found nothing. No bright swim cap, no gear, no trace. The police concluded a tragic drowning, a scenario all too common even for elite athletes, as the ocean claims lives with indifferent power. Yet Jack couldn't accept it. Every morning he dove, sifting through silt and seaweed, his oxygen bubbles the only sound in the underwater silence, each failed search deepening the ache in his chest while reinforcing his resolve. Historical parallels abound here, reminiscent of real maritime mysteries like the vanishing of ships in the Bermuda Triangle or the determined searches for lost aviators such as Amelia Earhart, where families clung to hope against statistical odds, teaching us that history's greatest triumphs stem from those who persist when others surrender. Vividly, Jack recalled Mia's laughter echoing across the deck during training sessions, her wet hair plastered to her forehead as she recounted personal best times, moments of emotional bonding that now fueled his daily ritual. Philosophically, this relentless pursuit embodied the human spirit's defiance against despair, echoing ancient teachings from Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, who urged focusing on what we can control, our effort, while accepting what we cannot. In modern relevance to English learning, Jack's story illustrates leaving no stone unturned, an idiom meaning exhaustive searching. Just as he examined every inch of seabed, students must explore vocabulary roots, idioms, and phrasal verbs comprehensively to achieve fluency, building resilience through consistent practice rather than sporadic efforts. 4 years passed in this cycle of hope and disappointment, Jack's weathered hands calloused from gripping dive lights and anchors, his small boat a lonely sentinel on the waves. Then, on this particular dive, Instinct drew him farther out to a rarely checked buoy, its rusted frame a beacon in the blue-green depths. As oxygen ran low, he ascended, pausing to rest, only to spot the device strapped high on the structure, a bulky waterproof GoPro housing, eerily familiar. His heart raced as he climbed the platform, unstrapping it with trembling fingers, recognizing the high-end model he'd gifted Mia for safety during solo swims. Turning it over revealed the small blue dolphin sticker with MC initials, confirming it was hers. The discovery flooded him with a torrent of emotions, joy at this tangible link, dread at what it might reveal, and a renewed surge of purpose. Back on the Sea Warden, his diving companion noted his unusual distance, but Jack could barely speak, clutching the camera like a lifeline. Driving to the police station, he dialed Detective Morgan, his voice cracking with excitement mixed with 4 years pent-up grief. At the station, forensic tech Ethan Parker handled the evidence meticulously, photographing the swollen battery and intact memory card before creating a forensic copy. As the first video played, Mia's smiling face filled the screen, her voice testing the camera. Perfect spot to capture my training today. She secured it to the buoy, treading water while sharing doubts about Olympic pressure, a vulnerable moment Jack had never known, deepening his emotional understanding of her inner struggles. Suddenly, a young man named Martin swam into frame, friendly at first, suggesting a race. The footage captured their interaction before they swam off, later showing a distant speedboat with a stylized wave logo. Hours of empty ocean followed until the battery died, but this clue shattered the drowning narrative. Ethan enhanced the logo, linking it to Ocean Elite Marine, a local sponsor of athletes. Jack shared this at a charity event later that day, approaching the company's booth where staff grew nervous upon seeing the image and hearing Martin. Their hasty departure prompted Jack to follow impulsively, leading to an abandoned marina where he overheard talk of girls kept safe for 4 years and a yacht transfer involving whimpering women. Horrifying confirmation of human trafficking. Calling Morgan, Jack coordinated a pursuit, his expertise in local waters proving invaluable. The chase culminated in a chaotic confrontation at sea, with gunfire, divers and underwater struggles, and Jack's daring boarding of the yacht where he confronted Martin and his father Grant Whitmore, the operation's ruthless head. In a split-second shootout, truths unraveled. Grant's twisted obsession with athletic young women, using sponsorships as a facade for abduction and control, promising Olympic success in exchange for compliance while threatening families. Martin, conflicted and alcoholic, revealed his complicity. Jack, wounded but determined, dove back to free Mia, who had been held captive, trained harshly yet unbroken in spirit. Reunited on the Coast Guard vessel, Mia recounted her ordeal, approached during training, lured onto a boat, drugged, and coerced with threats against her father. The rescue involved police, Coast Guard, and helicopter support, neutralizing the threat and freeing other victims. This narrative arc from loss to liberation highlights emotional development, Jack's grief evolving into fierce hope, Mia's fear transforming into quiet strength through survival. Philosophically, it teaches that darkness often hides in plain sight, as with seemingly legitimate companies masking crimes, urging vigilance in society much like scrutinizing sources in English research to avoid misinformation. Historically, it echoes real cases of athletes targeted in exploitation rings or maritime abductions, such as elements in modern human trafficking exposés documented by organizations like the UN, reminding us progress against such evils requires persistent advocacy. For English learners, the story's advanced vocabulary, treacherous, meaning dangerous and unstable, unyielding, as refusing to give way, builds linguistic depth. Idioms like gnawing void, persistent emotional emptiness, or lifeline, something that saves in crisis, enrich expression. Vivid character moments, like Mia's tearful, "You found me," or Jack's prayer of gratitude, evoke universal empathy, connecting to wisdom that family bonds transcend time and trauma. Yet the journey raises a profound question. In your own life, What forgotten buoy or overlooked detail have you dismissed that might hold the key to unlocking a long-held dream or resolving a personal mystery? And how can embracing relentless search, like Jack's dives, transform your path toward growth and fluency in English or any pursuit? As the Coast Guard vessel cut through the waves toward Crescent Bay Harbor, with ambulances waiting and flashing lights piercing the fading afternoon, Jack lay on the stretcher, his thigh wound, throbbing despite pressure from the medic, yet his spirits soared higher than the helicopter that had aided the rescue. Mia sat beside him, her hand gripping his with a strength forged in 4 years of captivity, her once vibrant Olympic hopeful frame now thinner, but her swimmer's shoulders still squared with resilient pride. The other rescued women, Anna and Lily, huddled nearby, their faces etched with a mix of relief and lingering shadows from prolonged trauma, whispering thanks to the officers who had neutralized the kidnappers. Detective Morgan paced the deck, coordinating with the FBI's impending involvement, as preliminary digs into Ocean Elite Marine revealed Grant Whitmore's empire built on exploitation, sponsoring athletes publicly while preying on their ambitions privately, a modern cautionary tale akin to historical Ponzi schemes or corporate facades masking human rights abuses, such as those exposed in the early 20th century sweatshop scandals or contemporary #MeToo revelations in sports industries. Jack's mind replayed the underwater chaos. Handcuffed captives struggling against spear gun-wielding captors, police divers intervening with precision, and his own desperate yank of a regulator that freed his daughter in the nick of time. In the nick of time, an idiom meaning at the last possible moment, captures the miraculous timing of the GoPro's discovery, much like how a single English phrase learned at a crucial juncture can unlock better communication in job interviews or travels. Emotionally, Jack's development unfolded profoundly, from the stoic diver masking daily disappointment to a father whose vulnerability surfaced in tears upon hearing Mia's voice on the footage, teaching that suppressing grief hinders healing while sharing it fosters connection, a universal wisdom echoed in psychological studies on resilience post-trauma. Mia, in turn, evolved from a trusting 19-year-old lured by Martin's feigned camaraderie during their race to a survivor who had internalized threats to protect her father, her quiet recounting on the boat revealing layers of coerced compliance and inner resistance. Philosophically, the ordeal underscored Stoicism's emphasis on enduring what cannot be changed while acting courageously on what can, paralleling how English learners persist through plateaus by focusing on daily habits like vocabulary journaling rather than perfection. Vividly, one recalled moment stood out. During captivity, Mia and the others trained in a private lake under guard, maintaining athletic forms not for glory but survival, their whispered conversations at night bonding them like sisters in adversity, a character depth that humanizes the victims beyond statistics. Modern relevance ties directly to English education. Stories like this build listening comprehension through narrative scripts, encouraging learners to analyze advanced structure such as complex sentences with embedded clauses. As the vessel neared the dock, Jack reflected, or conditional reasoning, if she was alive, he would find her. Historical elements enrich it further. The maritime chase evokes real naval operations against smugglers, like those in the war on drugs or anti-piracy efforts off Somalia, where coordinated boat-helicopter tactics mirror the story's climax, illustrating how technology and teamwork overcome isolation. Jack's speech at the charity event earlier that day, interrupted by urgency, had touched on water safety and supporting athletes, words now infused with newfound authenticity as he survived to deliver an unspoken message of hope. As paramedics transferred him to the ambulance, Mia's parting words, "I love you, Dad. I never stopped believing you'd come," ignited a philosophical reflection on love as the ultimate motivator, transcending fear much like passion for language drives mastery despite challenges. The hospital awaited with surgery for Jack's bullet wound and evaluations. For the women, but already plans formed for statements, trials, and long-term healing, including counseling to process PTSD, a term explained as post-traumatic stress disorder, involving flashbacks and anxiety from severe events. This chapter of Reunion emphasizes emotional arcs, Jack's identity shifting from searcher to savior, Mia reclaiming agency through testimony. For universal wisdom, It prompts considering how societal systems, sports sponsorships, unchecked companies can enable harm, urging ethical vigilance today. In English learning, dissecting such tales hones critical thinking, vocabulary expansion, e.g., facade, meaning a false front, coerced as forced against will, and empathetic expression. Yet amid victory, a reflective message lingers. What hidden captivity in your routines, be it fear of speaking English publicly or unexamined habits, holds you back, and how might one small persistent action, like Jack's daily dives, set you free toward personal excellence and deeper connections? Dawn broke over Crescent Bay the following morning, painting the harbor in hues of gold and pink as Jack, bandaged and propped in his hospital bed, listened to Mia recount more details of her captivity, while sunlight streamed through the window, symbolizing renewal after darkness. The bullet had been removed successfully, leaving a scar that would remind him of sacrifice, much like life's wounds that build character when healed with care. Mia, examined and cleared physically though emotionally scarred, described the psychological manipulation, Grant Whitmore's promises of Olympic connections, his threats tailored to exploit family love, forcing the women into a facade of compliance while they plotted silent resistances, such as memorizing guard routines or sharing coded encouragement. Anna and Lily, fellow athletes abducted in prior years, one a track star, the other a gymnast, added layers to the horror, their stories weaving a tapestry of systemic exploitation hidden behind corporate philanthropy, echoing historical parallels like the exploitation of young talents in early Hollywood or Olympic training scandals documented in investigative journalism from the 1990s onward. Detective Morgan visited, updating that Martin's confession, combined with yacht evidence and the GoPro footage, had dismantled the ring, with FBI agents tracing financial trails to other potential victims. Jack's emotional journey deepened here, grappling with guilt for not insisting on accompanying Mia that day, evolving into acceptance that her independence, while risky, reflected her strong spirit, a philosophical balance between control and trust, akin to parents guiding children or teachers scaffolding English lessons without overdependence. Vivid character moments abounded, Mia's eyes lighting up describing how she never removed the mental image of her father's dive boat, using it as an anchor during despair, Jack squeezing her hand, whispering apologies mixed with pride. This resilience mirrors universal wisdom from figures like Nelson Mandela, who endured imprisonment yet emerged unbroken, teaching that inner freedom persists despite physical chains. For modern English learners, the narrative serves as immersive material. Practicing reported speech, Mia said she had been training idioms like in the nick of time or leaving no stone unturned, and advanced collocations e.g., relentless pursuit, unyielding resolve, to enhance fluency. Explanations clarify. Tapestry metaphorically means a complex interwoven story, helping learners visualize abstract concepts. The hospital room became a space for healing dialogues, where Mia expressed doubts about returning to swimming, fearing triggers from water, prompting Jack to philosophize on reclaiming passions transformed by trauma, much like language learners rediscovered joy in conversation after initial frustrations. Historical elements grounded. Human trafficking's roots trace to ancient civilizations yet persist today, with UN reports estimating millions affected annually, underscoring the story's call for awareness and prevention through education and community vigilance. As visitors from the swimming community arrived with flowers and well wishes, sharing how Mia's case inspired renewed safety protocols at events, the family's bond strengthened, emotional development evident in shared laughter amid tears. Philosophically, it highlights karma or cause-effect, where one forgotten camera rippled into justice, encouraging reflection on small actions' power. In English contexts, such stories foster cultural literacy, connecting personal tales to global issues like athlete welfare. The chapter closes with plans for therapy, media interviews to raise awareness, and Jack resuming dives not in search, but celebration. A thought-provoking message emerges. How can turning personal tragedy into advocacy, as this family might, empower you to transform your English learning struggles into strengths that inspire others, reminding us that every scar tells a story of survival and every word learned builds bridges across divides? Weeks turned into months as Crescent Bay slowly healed alongside the Callahan family, with Mia gradually returning to light training swims under close supervision, her strokes regaining power while Jack limped along the pier, his legs scar a badge of the battle that restored his world. Community support poured in, fundraisers for victim recovery, enhanced water safety workshops incorporating the incident's lessons, and media coverage that elevated the case from local tragedy to national conversation on athlete protection. Mia's testimony in court, delivered with composed strength, detailed the daily regimen of coerced training, isolation, and psychological warfare, her voice steady as she described using mental English-like visualization techniques, imagining conversations with her father, to endure, cleverly tying back to language as a tool for resilience even in captivity. Grant Whitmore's empire crumbled under scrutiny, revealing a pattern of targeting, flying under the radar, talents with unfulfilled dreams, a tactic with historical echoes in confidence schemes from the Victorian era's spiritualist frauds to modern digital grooming. Jack, recovered enough to dive recreationally, found peace in the same waters that once tormented him, now sharing stories with Mia during joint sessions that rebuilt trust and joy. Emotional development peaked in tender father-daughter moments, Mia admitting her pre-disappearance doubts about worthiness, Jack confessing his overprotectiveness stemmed from losing her mother young, fostering mutual understanding and growth. Philosophically, this phase embodied forgiveness, not for the perpetrators but for self and circumstance, drawing from Buddhist teachings on letting go of resentment to embrace presence, relevant universally as it aids healing from any loss. For English learners, the arc provides rich material for discussion, debating themes with phrases like coming full circle, returning to a starting point with new insight, an idiom explained as completing a cycle enriched by experience, or analyzing narrative tension through foreshadowing in the buoy discovery. Vivid scenes included Mia pinning the old GoPro sticker to her new training bag as a symbol of survival, or the family visiting the buoy site together, tossing flowers in remembrance while honoring the living. Modern relevance shines in anti-trafficking campaigns, where awareness education, much like structured English courses, equips individuals with knowledge to spot and prevent dangers. Historical depth adds weight. Parallels to real survivor stories, such as those of abducted athletes or maritime captives documented in books like Unbroken by Laura Hillenbrand, illustrate human endurance's triumph. As trials concluded with lengthy sentences for the network, including Martin's cooperation yielding lighter but still punitive terms due to his internal conflict, the family focused on future. Mia mentoring young swimmers, Jack expanding his diving company with safety emphases. This inspiring journey underscores that adversity refines character, much like rigorous English practice, grammar drills, immersive reading, conversational practice, hones communication from basic to eloquent. The philosophical teaching, persistence, as Jack's 4-year search proved, compounds small efforts into breakthroughs, encouraging learners to track progress incrementally. A reflective question prompts growth, reflecting on this tale of rediscovery. What buoy in your life, a skill, relationship, or goal, deserves renewed searching, and how might committing to daily disciplined action, akin to language study routines, lead you to unexpected liberation and fulfillment? Years later, as Olympic trials approached once more, Mia stood at the Crescent Bay Pier, her form honed by healed trauma and renewed passion, with Jack watching from the sea warden, their story now a beacon for the community and beyond, inspiring documentaries and English curricula worldwide on themes of resilience. The GoPro, preserved as evidence then returned, became a family heirloom, its footage edited into motivational clips teaching not just swimming safety but life's deeper currents, recognizing red flags in seemingly friendly encounters, the power of overlooked details, and the fatherly love that mirrors universal protective instincts across cultures. Mia's comeback narrative, shared in interviews, highlighted emotional evolution. From victim to victor, her doubts transformed into advocacy for mental health in sports, philosophically aligning with existentialist ideas that meaning is self-created amid absurdity. Historical ties enriched public talks, linking to ancient Greek Olympic ideals of excellence corrupted by modern exploitation, or real-world rescues like those by Coast Guards in trafficking interdictions. For English education, the full saga serves as advanced listening/reading practice, with vocabulary builders, unyielding, explained as steadfast against pressure, facade, a deceptive appearance, and idiom lessons, full circle, in the nick of time, fostering fluency while embedding wisdom on perseverance. Vivid closing moments saw Mia touching the buoy during a symbolic swim, whispering thanks to the camera that bridged years, Jack diving beside her in harmony. Modern relevance. In an era of digital vulnerabilities, the story warns against lures online or in person, promoting education as empowerment, much like accessible English resources democratize opportunity. Universal wisdom culminates in the idea that no trace left behind is permanent if love and determination persist, encouraging reflection on legacy. As the sun set on another training day, father and daughter reflected on their journey's lessons, their bond unbreakable. What forgotten camera or silent clue in your personal odyssey awaits rediscovery, and how will you dive deeper today? Through consistent English practice or courageous life choices, to emerge stronger, wiser, and connected to humanity's enduring spirit of hope.